Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Church is Stupid.
Come abide.
As you can see from earlier this week's episode, things have not gotten better.
Nope.
We continue to be shameless today.
We are falling apart.
But I am Ruth.
Oh,
I'm Kate.
I don't know where we're going from here.
Just give your name. Just say who you are. That's all
I'm
I
Andy.
ask.
Elijah, that's me.
So things will continue to devolve. So, no, I'm keeping it. We're keeping this for your last episode.
Manic episode.
If you're not proud of it, then, well, you're fired.
There's no longer an editor, and so it's just all like, you know what? We're not recording a new one.
The universe will take it where it needs to go.
I have faith.
It will fall
I
on
don't.
deaf ears.
Oh my goodness.
No, I just think it fits the theme of what we've been doing, which is absolute chaos for this week. As you know, we said on Tuesday's episode, we're going to be continuing our final goodbye for Andy.
It's also just like a mid-year recap.
It really
It just
is.
happens
Yeah.
to like fall on the right dates.
It
Exactly.
actually
doesn't
does.
it?
What? I didn't even think about that. But also, yeah, this was totally intentional. Duh.
Uh-huh.
It
Really good
just
advice.
works.
Thanks for quitting when you did.
Ding.
Or thanks for being fired when you were.
We don't want people to leave with the impression that Andy wasn't fired here.
Yeah, sorry. Well,
I'm so
my
glad
bad,
that these job cuts happen to fall right when they need to.
Yeah, exactly.
Pink slips.
So I'm getting like severance, right?
I don't pay your salary. I don't care.
Don't look at us.
I believe the person to take that up with is
The only severance you're
your
getting.
mother.
The only-
Quite literally, that is not a joke. That was,
This is awful.
This is the first time
So
that your
bad.
mama like Burton joke has been just completely
An actual
true.
your mama statement. A non-offensive. Oh, this is terrible. Oh, no.
do you all want me to start over?
Oh no, it's
No,
great.
no.
It's terrible.
Okay.
It's
We're
great.
keeping
Terrible.
this.
Okay, just checking.
We don't have the
We're
time.
real and
So
we're
this,
authentic.
admittedly, you guys are getting a little taste of what it's like in between the episode recordings.
Ooh.
Because we've had some really interesting intros that I've had to be really, really careful to cut real close to.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And it has been a chronic fear of mine on this podcast that, like, we'll have been talking and I'll forget to edit that part out.
Well, most of the time I just like kind of restart them because sometimes I start recording like 5 minutes before we actually start the episode because I'm like, okay, we're ready to go, right? I'm gonna start recording, and then we talk about absolutely just the randomest thing in the
We
entire,
just spew.
and we just have to restart everything.
It's true. I've had a couple moments, though, on the podcast where I've actually said some things where I'm like, immediately, why did I say this?
Do I need to edit that out?
But, like, when we're 20 minutes in, I'm like, I guess this is just happening now.
Yeah.
This is just happening.
It is impossible to edit if it's not at the intro or the end. You
Yeah,
can't.
well,
you just can't do it. There's just no way.
How far my tech world goes. I have.
There's just
Facebook.
nothing you can do about it, Andy.
Okay,
It's impossible.
I
It's
could just add in a beep or whatever, but that's
It's the end of the world as I know it. I'm not fine. I'm not fine.
Okay.
am I your world?
No. Oh, I'm sorry. Was I supposed to hesitate there?
No.
That's the end of your.
I mean, I do
employment.
have like a husband and like a daughter and like, you know, so
Cats.
some
and-
cats
Okay,
and
fair
other
enough.
family
Fine, whatever.
members. So Andy,
Yeah.
this is your last episode, so this is your last chance to inflict whatever you want upon our
Oh my goodness.
listeners.
Oh boy.
So what is your? Oh crap! I don't.
Dude,
I
just,
don't
let's just
like.
open up the floor to him. Just
All
Andy's
right,
gonna
everybody.
sit here and
Start
talk about how
spewing.
birds aren't real for the next 20 minutes.
yes.
All right, everybody, sit down, grab your bathrobe, and a nice can of Diet Coke or something.
Can we put some like noir music in the background right now, please? Editor, can you do that?
I don't know if you're talking to yourself or Ruth.
I don't know either. All right, Andy, inflict.
This is why you're all fired.
We're all fired. Let's go.
Freedom!
Um,
I fired myself.
the I don't know. I think we started talking about it the beginning part of or not the beginning. It was near the end of last episode. But it has to do with our name. Is one of like the more important things that like I want to like. That's what I want to leave my hat on.
You're not wearing a hat, Andy.
Can I borrow just? But it's just like the name of this podcast originally was Church is Stupid. No comma but at the end of it, which like looking back at it, I don't know if I like the change or if I don't like the change. And this whole conversation of like, you know, does the comma but just kind of undermine the meaning of the original statement? This whole entire like conversation about language.
Yeah. Sure.
But I think the actual message that it sends like stands with our original like intent for this, because we went into this with all of these reasons why we were like, the church just sucks. Like not everything about this place like wears you down. It destroys people who come into the church, who are looking to like build their faith, who are looking to find a community, who are looking for all of this kind of stuff. And so like there has to be a reason why you stay. And so you can say like, if we were to like throw this onto like a subject in a class, math is stupid. Math is the worst kind of a thing.
It's not. Okay, sorry, continue.
I love math. Not the point. But you need it. Like, you need it when you're in the grocery section so that you can add the price of one thing to another thing. Like,
The cash register does that.
okay.
No, I'm sorry. We're undermining you.
But how do you program the cash register? But it's
Nailed it.
It's this whole, like, you can say something is stupid, but for it to exist, it has to have, like, justifiable purposes to it. And so, like, yes, the church during the Crusade periods may not have had the best intentions.
May?
You know, during the Crusades, the church may have been stupid. But
I just, like, that's just, like, the period that I jumped to. You could go to, like, witch trials. You could go to any time period in, like, history. We have some of the worst history associated with the name and the pursuit of God and of a better, like, life. So why the heck would anybody want to be a part of this religion? And that's where that whole, like, comma but comes in. And that's why, like, I think it's important that we arrive at that point with most of our episodes, and just, like, looking at things. We see all of the issues that, like, are a part of things, and, like, we're trying to call them out. And that may lead to change, that may not lead to change, and whether it does or doesn't, you know, is going to end up breaking me someday with the amount that I'm actually a part of the church. But it's this whole, like, at some point you got to decide if something is worth saving or not. Does that make sense?
sure. Yeah.
And that's kind of where this whole, like, but comes in. You got, like, which I feel is awful, because it feels like, oh, I'm justifying the Crusades, or I'm justifying this wrongful history that we have that dates back 2,000 years.
Yeah. At some point, though, you know, you realize or you remember that, you know, quote, the church can have many different meanings to many different people, or yeah, you don't have to just talk about the church during blank period.
Yeah.
The church in blank example. It's important to call them out because we're supposed to be a uniform body and we're supposed to hold each other accountable. But that doesn't always mean that everything that's always happened in the name of the church has been anyone and everyone's, you know, agreed upon intention throughout the history of the church. Quite the opposite, I would say, in many examples. Wouldn't have had Martin Luther, I think, if that was the case at all. You know, because that was. Sorry, not to fully do.
No, you're perfectly fine, but I think it's extremely important for us to look at.
Yeah.
And although it was like the original intention, it has added a bit of humor, the comma but, the other things. But I think it's kind of driven things home. And I think it's something that we need to like remember going forward. Is that we can perfectly fine call out everything in the world for being completely stupid, but there's got to be some point to it. And I'm not saying like we haven't done this before, or like all that kind of a thing. It's just
That's
my
what I
like.
heard.
It's
and that's
my,
why you're fired.
It's my advice, like going forward, is call out the world and try and help it.
Yeah.
I love that, and I really love that. Looking back on our journey, because I think I was probably one of the least accepting of the comma but, which is why we pronounce the comma every single time. When we first got started, I said it was my rebellion. I would pronounce the comma so that way people knew that it was not my choice and that there was a distinction between the two statements, church is stupid and but, because I didn't want to invalidate that first part. I didn't want it to be a question if church is stupid or that, because to me that invalidates so many of the experiences that we've talked about on here.
Yeah.
But that comma but has really grounded us in a lot of ways. I think it was always what we intended, but not necessarily what we voiced at the beginning.
Wasn't in writing like it would have been, right?
But I think that is where all of our passions come from. You know, we're in the church or a part of the church. We're all looking for a place to grow our faiths. I think that's fair to say of each of us, right? We want to grow in faith. We're not just trying to complain for endless hours.
Well,
though I do enjoy that.
Sometimes that needs to happen.
And so having that desire and then seeing a place that is supposed to fill that gap but is not for a lot of people is really where the church's stupid part comes in. But the comma but is, how do we make a place for those people? And that's always been our intention. So that was some really good infliction. Well
came up with it right on the spot.
You did. You had the pose of like, I'm about to make some real stuff up, and then it was really legit.
Oh, just you can take off your bathrobes now if you need to.
What about the Diet Coke if they're not done drinking it yet?
I mean, you can continue to sip on the Diet
Oh,
Coke.
okay. I thought they'd have to like dump it or something.
Well, I mean, it's just, it's knowledge juice. So.
Did you?
I don't know.
I can't.
What?
Would you like to say it? Say it. You know you
No,
want to.
I don't wanna
you
say
do want
it.
to say
I
it.
really don't
Kate,
want to
say the words.
No, we're good.
It's
We're
okay. I'll
good.
say it. That's why you fired. Kate's like, if I hear those words one more time, I'm going to lose it. Do you have any advice for Kate coming on to this wonderful podcast? This is when we needed it to be filmed. Because
No, I think the awkward silence will speak for itself.
Oh my gosh.
I think my only advice is,
I'm so scared.
there's been this comment that I've gotten from people that half of like the fun or driving force behind some of our episodes is like the stupid relationship that Elijah and I have.
Oh, the bromance. Yeah.
The bromance.
the bromance.
My advice is either A, become a bro with Elijah, which really A is not the worst option, or B, develop some kind of relationship along those lines with Ruth.
Wow!
Why?
We just sell that. Like, so you can either take the superior option of befriending Elijah, or if you have to, I guess, deal with Ruth.
Kate,
Yes,
make
Those are
your
my exact
choice.
words.
Right now, you have to decide. No, but it is true. I feel like your bromance has done quite enough.
I was
Teary-eyed.
I was thinking about that last night, and I was trying to think, is there like an equivalent to the bromance for like chicks? That's what I want to know. Is there like a?
I'm a
Is
guy.
it-
I would not know.
I don't know. I feel like bromance is just so like common.
You can't define a bromance.
I am
It
going
just
to die.
is.
It just is, ma.
Oh my gosh.
You know what? We'll work on it, Kate.
Awesome.
I think she already knows.
If you want to go through the torture and the torment of having to deal with me, apparently,
All I'm
we'll
just
work
saying
on
is
it.
become bros, you know? But that's all I got.
It was the worst segment I've ever had on this podcast. Sorry.
Do you want to change your answer about your least favorite episode? Shall we
It's
go
this
back?
one.
And not because I
They
have
just
to
keep
deal with
getting
them
worse
leaving.
this week. Going
You know.
downhill.
So, Kate, we've had you on a couple
Yeah.
of times now, but this is officially the start of your regular seasons. Yeah.
That was
Why
so
did you
weird.
do that?
It was. I don't know. I wanted to make
I
it
think you
really strange.
intended that to be different.
No, I just wanted it to be funny. Whatever. It's fine. It worked out in my head. I'm trying to create a bromance here, all right? And it's not working.
Andy, hey, how are you doing today?
Oh, Elijah.
I regret this immediately. I regret it.
This is going to sound so weird to whoever's listening.
Yeah, that's
I hope they have headphones on.
moving on.
So, anyway.
Oh boy.
Would you like to share a little bit of your heart and the reason why you were drawn to this podcast and volunteered to be a part of this insane crew?
Wow, so I don't think I really volunteered. I think it was like you're showing up and doing stuff. But yeah, then it kind of became, do you want to come back? And I said, sure. I don't know why. There must be something. I must have a screw loose or two to put up with
fair.
this. But, you know, it's, yeah, once we start recording in the afternoon, I think it'll be better. Mornings are, whew.
Yeah, I'm not a morning person. Yeah. And this is, for those who don't know, right now we're recording and it's 11:45 in the morning, but it was 10:30 when we started. And so that is morning to me.
In a few years, when I have my existential crisis, then I'll start a morning podcast where I drink coffee and act like I'm unique. Then I'll like
I'll
the
join
morning.
you with my Diet Coke. Sorry, my knowledge
But for now,
juice.
afternoons are what I would definitely prefer.
I'm writing the papers.
Pink slips?
No, the divorce papers.
Oh.
The other pink slip.
For me wanting to get up in the morning, is that it?
No, for the podcast. That frightens me already because I can see it happening.
Yeah.
This is Elijah. This is my podcast. Morning.
I'm unique.
I'm so unique.
I'm the only white man with a beard who's making a podcast in the morning that has to do with coffee.
I have a French press.
It's true.
What did
I
we
do.
even talk about?
It's
Having
French
a
press.
French press.
Is the
Yeah.
freshman going to fill a whole like season?
It just becomes like an ASMR in one ear and the other.
Make an entire podcast about this French press that I got for Christmas.
Drip.
From my mom.
Drip.
From exactly.
Oh. Oh, this keeps getting worse.
Are you sure you don't want to go back on your statement yet?
Oh my goodness. Andy, can you be not fired, please?
All
and
of this
stay?
Is it us? We're the problem? It's
Not be
all of us.
fired.
Can you not be fired?
Can you just like convince your boss to not fire you? This is on you.
Hey, boss. I don't want to be not fired.
This is where I
Wait a
remind you that your boss was not me.
No, but in this scenario,
This is
okay.
where we remind the audience that Andy was not fired by anybody.
Yes, there
way.
was no firing. If anything, I think the church would have literally kept you forever.
yeah, I don't
Yeah.
work here.
So, but yeah, what are you most looking forward to, you think, besides afternoons and not being,
Ooh, I just think some of the conversations we're having, kind of looking forward at some of the different things that are on the list. They're exciting to me. So some conversations I'm probably not looking forward to as much, and there's others that I'm like super excited for. And putting everything into schedules. That'll be fun.
That's fair. That's fair. Kate is an extremely busy human being, but we're grateful that you carved out some time to be with us. So let's see. What else? Is there anything else that you want to talk about? I mean, this is your episode. Is there anything else you want?
Do we need to get the bathrobe again?
No? I mean, you know what? On second thought, Elijah, do you have any parting words for Andy as the bromance comes to a tragic end?
I'm trying to think of a way to do the same thing that Andy was doing with his stupid bathrobe thing that would make you equally as irritated, but I can't think of anything on the
Sundress?
fly.
I don't know.
What?
I don't know. That's the next piece of clothing.
What
that
did you
came to mind.
say?
Sundress.
So when Andy gets ready in
Yes,
the morning,
I'm sorry,
he
yes.
gets his bathrobe
The yin-
and Diet Coke.
The
Well,
yin to your yang, the sundress. I don't have anything to say.
Oh my gosh.
that was my goodbye.
Well,
It won't be the same without you, Andy.
I have a question for you,
Sure.
Elijah. Why do you keep coming back?
Why do
Like,
I?
I know that like your wife is here, and ignoring that one.
Aw.
Despite that,
Oh, we've
I do
already
come back
ignored her
because-
plenty,
Why
I
do you
think.
come back to work each week at this podcast?
I don't every week.
I know, but
Um,
like most of the time when you're not with Lily.
I mean, honestly, part of it is just because, I've always wanted to do some kind of podcast for a while. But I know, sorry, awkward silence, but I'm thinking back to when I went to Spring Arbor it was only for 1 year, but it was also when I met Ruth along with, a big part of our friend group. And we had our own sort of small group that we would meet at. It was like once a week, right?
No, it was every night.
Was it every night?
It was every night.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
Great
so I'm
memory,
thinking
great memory.
incorrectly about my time at Spring Arbor, I guess.
We might have switched it to once a week when you started. I don't
We
remember.
we had this small group where we made it like together, like for our group, and invited anyone that we wanted, of course. But like it wasn't part of the administration or part of the curriculum or anything. Like we just met with each other, I guess, every night just because we wanted to. And we would just talk about stuff. We would talk about stuff that was going on like in this school. We would talk about how we were doing on our good days, on our bad days, things that we were excited about, things that we were really, really, pissed about. A lot of it, had to do with faith, but not always. I don't know. We just met as a group that we put together because we just wanted to check in on each other, basically. And that wasn't something that I was super used to. Something that was outside of like a an already pre-existing like youth group program or something, and during a lot of those talks and that, throughout the years too, like everyone just has those moments when they're able to just be in the presence of truly good friends and just like talk about anything that they want and get like really deep, almost seemingly like out of nowhere, right? And just reflecting back on those, like all those times, those are conversations that I always just loved being a part of. And I think a lot of those conversations are things that I think other people probably would love to have, but maybe don't realize it. Because sometimes there are a lot of conversations or topics that would get brought up that I wouldn't have ever thought about talking about, and then we just get super into it. So to be able to sort of, almost like in spirit of that, almost replicate it in a way on this podcast, where I think our goal is to just be real with each other.
Yeah.
Talk about, on one hand, completely goof off and almost seemingly ruin an episode with just messing around, but then
I
immediately
think
turn
he's
it
talking
around.
about this one.
Hey Ruth.
And then
You're fired.
immediately turn it around, guys. Into being super real and talking about really serious issues, things that affect a lot of people that I'm sure a lot of people can identify with. Like, to be able to be a part of that is something that I'm very fortunate to have, and something that I've just wanted to do for like a long time, honestly. Because I think everyone can sort of can identify, maybe not with having specific conversations that we have, but just getting lost in a conversation with their friends, and then just thinking about how grateful they are for it. So being able to sort of like share that with an emphasis on talking about serious issues within the church, and like you said, why we are still a part of it in one way or another. I don't know. It just fits. I'm just really glad that I get to be a part of that conversation. And I hope that
You thought it was just because.
I hope that it's actually doing something for some people. I hope some people are receiving it, and whether or not you just like to listen to us screw around, or whether we actually do maybe hit home for certain subjects that maybe you've thought of or that have applied to you. All we want to do is just make people feel like their voice matters too. So, yeah.
Thank you. That's a
You're
good
welcome.
question.
I knew it was not just because of you.
Hey, sure you did.
In spite
no,
of you, actually.
because otherwise, that's fair. Probably isn't spite of
I'll
me.
add on to what Elijah said and just say, if you have a topic that we haven't touched and you maybe want us to like see if we can touch on it or something, DM us on Instagram or something because we're on there.
We are,
Yes.
or Facebook, or Twitter,
Twitter.
as well.
Yes.
So and
Or
we'd
comment
love
down below on the YouTube video, or
Exactly.
and we're
Get a
always
hold of
looking
us,
for-
guys.
Yeah.
we're out there. Talk to us.
It's up to you
please.
now.
We need friends. But with our last little bit, I just want to say, Andy, I'm gonna be nice for once. So this is gonna be really hard for me.
Whoa.
So I need you all to just be praying
got
for
this,
me.
you
for
got
this
this.
moment.
Guys, this is unexpected. None of us thought this was going to happen.
It's
so
true.
Okay, you got this.
Andy, I have appreciated you so much in our time together, not just on the podcast, but all of this. You've helped create so many of my absolutely insane visions in a way that I never expected. This podcast literally would not exist without you. And as much as I might be the person who's continuing it on, it was your heart as well. And your heart goes on with us, even though you're not going to be here physically present with us as much anymore. I say as much because I am, yes. My hope would be that at some point you might come back on for an episode, but it's just because you don't have to, but it's just because I love getting to hear your heart. I love you and Elijah's weird bromance.
Andy, I'm also, maybe hopeful that someday you'll be back on the podcast.
I'll come back.
Wow, just took a. See,
I'm
that's
coming
why
out
I'm
of
never
retirement.
You're welcome. Okay, I locked him in.
Why I
locked him in. Mark it.
But honest to goodness, you are so great to be around. We have a ton of fun, and I am very seriously gonna miss you. Even though I know that we'll still see each other outside of this, because I will force you to, because I'm mean. But just thank you for sharing so much of your heart and your time and your energy. You're not even being paid for this. You just came back
That's
because
what
you love it. I mean, hey, that's what you told me. So.
Andy, near, far, wherever you are.
My heart will.
Thank you. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. You guys know what the implication of that is. So.
How
Andy,
much longer do we have on this?
like a minute and a
That
half.
was the end of
or
my.
the end.
That was the end of my nice time.
Ruth.
I'll tack right on just before we end. Obviously, yeah, everything Ruth said is exactly how I feel too. And
Ditto.
that's it. So bye. No, but honestly, you're having your input too on so many of our conversations where like we're I think there's been some points where we've been completely like in tune, and then there's been points where we have almost not really conflicting but super differentiating points, and the fact that we've had like these different viewpoints through Ruth or me or you, and we still have like this understanding that we know how to like center ourselves after like talking about all these different things. I don't know. Your input has been so unique compared to like just what I expect, and being married to Ruth, I don't know everything she thinks all the time, obviously, but like we understand each other already, like when we go into it a lot more. So to have your viewpoints and your inputs have been so like unique and awesome to be a part of too. I don't think that this would have been nearly as interesting, maybe even at all, if you weren't a part of it and it was just me and Ruth.
That would have been an awkward podcast.
Yeah, I would.
Listen to the married couple talk about church is stupid.
Comma but. That would be the most
Appealing.
energetic part of the entire thing.
Right.
I guess I have one more thing that I'm gonna leave you guys as a recommendation.
Well, we are out of time.
Cut off.
There's one thing that I do every so often, and it has to do with that whole opinion thing. Somebody's got to play devil's advocate every once in a while.
Yeah.
Because we do get those things where it's like, yep, this is our opinion on it. But then you got to like look at it and be like, somebody who's 90 and been in the church for 90 years is going to have a different opinion. So what about that one? But that's neither here nor there, just, a kind of reminder.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. And as we're coming up in the end of our episode, the end of Andy's last episode, I'm going to turn focus to Kate and say, Kate.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us on today's episode of Church is Stupid.
Comma, but.
I'm Kate.
I'm Ruth.
I'm Andy.
I'm Elijah.
We'll see you guys next week.
Goodbye, guys.
Any final goodbye, Andy? I'm still recording. You got one last chance.
I hope that you enjoy the rest of your week.